Well, guys, we refer to our next guest as the James Bond of MMA, traveling the world and kicking ass, all the while smelling like Polo Blue by Ralph Lauren, a friend of the program. He joins us here today. Luke 007 Rockhold, welcome back to Submission Radio.
Good to be back, boys.
Just quickly, what do you think about the nickname, Luke 007 Rockhold? Pretty fitting, no?
I'll take it. I'll take it for the time being.
Because we saw you were doing some NASA stuff before. You're doing 007 type activities. Tell us about this NASA, some kind of gravitron you were in. What was this thing?
It was a disruptor. I mean, it's just basically what do they call it? It's something that's very new to me. I just kind of got walked into it here in San Francisco. A friend of mine had a doctor he recommended, and it just throws off all your imbalances, neurologically imbalances you, and you have to retrack everything along the way. So
wow,
it was pretty nerve-wracking, to tell you the truth, and I don't know if I'll ever go back in that.
So is it like, because I thought when I saw it on your Instagram story, I thought it was like a ride. Is it a ride, or is it some kind of like I guess medical thing, something to help you with your well-being?
It's a ride of sorts. It's what's called gyrostim, I believe. There's very few of them in the United States. This one is it was intense. It was my first experience, and it's just it's disrupting all your senses, and then you having to track and hit your points of contact at the same time. So it's supposedly good for your brain activity and just keep you conscious at all times. So interesting. It couldn't hurt. Technology these days. Why not?
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of our listeners are going to be going to Six Flags, trying to heal their knees on a roller coaster after listening to this. And you, my friend Luke Rockhold, have been doing your thing, traveling the world and having a pretty memorable trip up to UFC 226 to see your friend Daniel Cormier win the heavyweight title. And with Daniel being a bit injured going into the fight, were you at all concerned that it may not turn out the way that it did?
Yeah, I had confidence in DC and Stipe. The utmost respect for Stipe. He's an animal, but the ability Daniel has, and he's like I said before, he's a much better heavyweight than he is light heavyweight. He hits harder. He's more mobile. He's faster. He's more athletic than all these guys. Don't let his body, stature deceive you. He is an athlete, and he is used to working with, the smaller weighted guys, his whole career. So, although he has that size and that wrestling ability to neutralize the size advantage that some of these guys may have, I expected good things from Daniel. Obviously, to catch him in that fashion, it was wasn't exactly expected, but it was we all believed it could happen. He's got great dirty boxing, and he's got big power at that weight.
So were you a little bit surprised that he was able to stop Stipe that quickly and in such devastating fashion? Did you expect to go a little bit longer?
I thought it could have. I thought he would have, took him in the later rounds, but like I said, this is I've watched the last couple of weeks of camp, and he had more power than usual. It looks like he was really getting behind it, and he was moving guys, and so I expected he could definitely finish the fight. Just judging by a couple of the times he hit Stipe early on in the fight, Stipe was shook. He didn't really realize Daniel could hit him like that, and that kind of told the tale. I was like, you could really see some change of pace, that little thought process in Stipe's head.
You were in the ring when Brock Lesnar came in and did a bit of a storm and a little bit of a push around. What did you think of the way it all played out, seeing as how close you were?
I was trying to judge the situation because I was about to pull a Diaz brother and jump on the back.
Did you know about him coming in beforehand, or did this catch you by surprise a little bit?
I saw Brock enter the arena as we were getting staged and ready for DC, so I knew something was up. And DC, calling him out. I know DC's wanted this fight for a long time.
So when you say you were going to pull a Diaz brother, what do you mean? Did you think you might have to get involved?
I was trying to judge his Brock. I was trying to judge Brock. Brock was coming in hot and pushing DC, but DC kept his composure and he was kind of laughing it off. And so I'm not a big fan of Brock and his style, and so I wouldn't mind taking a lick on him.
Well, that's interesting because DC was talking about, the night of UFC 226, and he said that you were apparently somewhat annoyed on the way to the arena. You had to contain yourself. DC, in his words, said, Luke wanted to kick Brock's ass. What's the deal there? What exactly, I guess, don't you like about Brock?
That he cheats. That he wasn't exempt. He was exempt from, so he could cheat. And the fact they bring him back after that positive test and treat him like a king, that's everything that's wrong with the sport. I understand DC's point of view. He wants the money. I wish him the best. I want him to kick Brock's ass and do that, but the fact that this sport promotes Brock Lesnar coming back off of a positive steroid test after they exempt him before the fight and still tested positive, you don't see that happen in any other sport, and it's sad to see it happen in this sport.
Just quickly before we get off the fight, what would your prediction be when DC and Lesnar do eventually fight? How do you think the sort of fight plays out?
We'll see if it happens or not, but DC wins the fight fairly easy. Brock runs forward. He tries to double leg him. DC stuffs it, gets back up, whether he gets taken down or not. He starts to throw hands on him and probably falls the same way Stipe.
When you say we'll see if it happens, what do you mean by that? Do you see Lesnar maybe not making it to that fight?
You never know. Brock's not even cleared to fight until next year. So
yeah,
it's sad that we talk about this, that the whole public and everyone gets behind this shit. It just pisses me off. I'm fed up with this shit. I don't like talking about cheaters.
Well, you're going to love the next question because your old nemesis, Yoel Romero, recently attempted to get a fight booked between him and DC title. What did you make of his tweets and challenges?
It's intriguing. DC handled it well. I don't know, man. We'll see. I think he's obviously he's a tough guy and he can't make weight, so it makes sense to go up. I don't have much else to say. I think DC should stay at heavyweight, and I think he should do what he's doing. He's the heavyweight champion of the world. He's the baddest man on the planet.
I almost feel like you and Yoel have a bit of unfinished business, considering that you're going up to light heavyweight. He might be going up to light heavyweight. Does it sort of interest you at all, maybe seeing him sometime in the future and fighting him again and sort of getting that one back?
I'm not. Trust me. I've seen Yoel, and I've been in there, and I know, given the weight cut and how I was affected, I see Yoel, and 205 makes a lot more sense. I'd love to run that one back sometime. So we'll see how things work out, but that's definitely a fight that I'd love to get.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were talking about your knee injury earlier and you going on that crazy Gavatron thing. Tell us, we saw the video of the stitches going in, but what was the actual injury itself and how did it all sort of go down? Because we heard you sort of spoke about it a little bit, but it seems like it was, like a botched surgery that sort of caused this problem?
Well, I had a pocket of fluid, a hematoma of sorts that never really went away from my fight. So there were some bone fragments from one of the kicks and some scar tissue that had built up, and the pocket of fluid. So the scar tissue is here with the bone fragments at the contact point, and the hematoma developed underneath it, and it kept pushing this fluid, this cystic fluid, through it, and it never really would seal. Yeah. So their idea was to come down, make an incision, and suture up this hematoma of sorts. And so it was a bit of a misinformed surgery. They had cut all the way down my shin. There was a different way of doing it. Rather than cutting down the blade of the shin, they could have made 2 entry points and then flushed it out and put something inside to lay it down underneath, which is what I realized was the easier option. Making an incision down the blade of my shin as a fighter, it wasn't a great decision. I wasn't really aware of everything that was going down, and I woke up to that after anesthesia. They'd done some other things, moved some tissue around to protect the incision point, which was, I think, another bad idea. It wasn't malpractice or of any sort, but
Sure.
it was not the greatest route to take. I didn't think of it as a major surgery. I thought it was very superficial, and so I didn't get as many opinions as I should have. My bad. It wasn't, given a knee injury or an ankle injury, a serious ligament injury, I thought it would be, I definitely go through those steps to make sure I'm making the right decision. This one, I didn't think it would be a big deal, and I was informed it wouldn't be. And unfortunately, I got quite the setback.
Wow, that's terrible. I mean, that's a pretty bad string of luck that you've had sort of over the last few years. And we saw that video where, you had the gash sort of open, you had that thing attached to you with the morphine as well. That was pretty crazy. I guess how tough was that for you to sort of not be able to fight Gustafsson in a couple of weeks at UFC 227? I imagine that would have been pretty devastating.
Yeah, no, I like to fight with Gustafsson, but it happened. It happened, and I couldn't get back off this thing. And I'm better off now than I was off the first surgery. So I had a great doctor, and Dr. Carl Williamson out of Las Vegas saved my leg. So I was looking at like a secondary closure and different things that aren't very appealing to the eye. And so we were able to put this thing called dermaclose on my leg to stretch the skin so they could reconnect good skin rather than having scar tissue build up. So thankful for him, and where I'm at now, I'm in a good spot. I'm almost sealed up and ready to go.
Yeah, well, some of those videos looked like you were in the new Saw movie.
Yeah.
Some of the videos you were putting out, it was crazy. I guess it's a fun keepsake to show the children or the grandchildren one day, to show them what you went through. But I was listening to your appearance on the UFC Unfiltered show, Luke, and you were sort of talking about how you're kind of enjoying this time off at the moment. You've got your awesome gig with Ralph Lauren happening, and you're sort of enjoying that. Are you kind of looking to take a little bit more time to really come back when you're full and ready and not rush back into the octagon?
Of course. I want to be healthy. I want to be ready to go. I want to get everything else behind me. I got a lot of things going on with selling my house and some other businesses, and so I like to set that aside and fight with a clear head. So and be ready, have a full camp, get into it, be in shape, be ready to go by the time I have a camp.
So I guess what do you think would be sort of the ideal timeline for you? Just sort of roughly ballpark. Do you think you'll fight sort of by the end of the year, or are you looking more sort of towards next year?
I think given where my leg's at right now and where things are moving, I think by the end of the year sounds pretty good. I think there's a good potential for Madison Square Garden.
Oh, wow, that would be amazing. The interesting thing is, Luke, we mentioned DC before, but he said his last fight would probably be with Brock Lesnar. I know you mentioned in previous interviews you were kind of waiting to see if he was going to win the heavyweight title and what was going to happen with him before you were going to officially decide where you're going to go next. Now that he's got the heavyweight title, he's got this Lesnar fight, and most likely he'll retire after that or another John Jones fight. Do you see it as an opportunity, like a more clear path for you to go into that light heavyweight division and really sort of go for the next interim title or whatever the situation is after DC leaves?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. DC has been going back and forth. I don't think he really knows what he wants at this time. I think as a team and as coaches, we know where we want DC, but DC is just, I think he's enjoying the limelight a little bit and taking his time. So he's playing games with different people. I'm not sure where he's going with all this, but I don't know, man. I'm gonna take it by ear. I want big fights, and there's not a lot of big fights at light heavyweight right now, and things need to iron themselves out. I like the Gustafsson fight. It was a very appealing fight. It was intriguing and it was motivating. So I can't say the rest for most of the guys in the division. I want something that's big on a big stage and makes sense. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, and I'll be ready to go.
I guess you mentioned the challenges in the division, and you've got it right. Guys like Glover Teixeira, who are legends, are ranked number 3 in the division, for example. It's definitely in a transitional space. But when thinking about probably the biggest challenge for you in the division and the funnest fight, John Jones comes to mind. Is he someone that you've thought about now that you're sort of going to be making your way up to the light heavyweight division? Is he someone that you'd look forward to fighting because your teammate and friend DC's fought him so many times before and you sort of know him pretty well preparing DC for those fights?
Yeah, he's always been an appealing fight. John's one of the best to ever do it, and we'll see. We'll see. He's got his own issues too, man. Like I said, he just tested positive too, so he's coming back off multiple failed tests. I don't put him in the same category as Brock, but that's still a lot to work with. No matter what. I just not wanting to comment on it. When the time comes, the time comes. If he's clear and if he's clean, we're in the division. Definitely fight. I like big fights.
And in the meantime, UFC 227, Volkan is going to be taking on Alexander Gustafsson. Will you be sort of watching that fight closely to see how that one plays out? Maybe potentially fighting the winner of that if things play out well with the leg?
Yeah, of course. I'm watching every fight. Every fight at middleweight, every contender fight at middleweight or light heavyweight, I'm watching it. So it's an open book right now, and we'll see where everything falls.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because a lot of great fights, a lot of stuff happening in the middleweight and light heavyweight division. We see that Kevin Gastelum and Robert Whittaker are going to be coaching the Ultimate Fighter, but also Robert Whittaker coming out and saying he probably won't be able to fight till February next year. Robert Whittaker and the title being held up till probably February, March next year. Does that deter you really from coming down to middleweight? I mean, what would it take to get you down to middleweight apart from another title shot?
Another title shot.
That's the only thing, right? Because I know you're not a big fan of that weight cut anymore. Is it really title or bust?
It's number one contender to a title fight. It's got to be something along that fashion. It's got to be a big fight on the big stage, like Madison Square Garden. Never know. So it just depends on where things fall and how it all lays out. But I want to work my way up into. I don't like leaving on this note at 85, but I am a lot different fighter when you put on that extra 10, 15 pounds. The weight cut is devastating. It takes all your power away, and I have to change my game a little bit. And I'm gonna have to really reassess. If I go back down to that weight, I'm gonna have to reassess the weight cut. There's a lot of complications again going into this fight.
Yeah,
the whole Perth Commission and everything with the weigh-ins and then the morning fight and missing weight. There's a lot of things. So I didn't. The fluctuation of flying to Australia.
You love coming down to see us, Luke.
I love it.
We had a reservation for you in a restaurant, and you stood us up. We sat there by ourselves
till the candles burned out.
Don't blame that one on me.
I was going to say, though, just quickly, and we'll let you go in just a moment. You mentioned, obviously, Madison Square Garden. Everybody, it's the dream to fight there. But you mentioned the commission. Is that at all sort of something that weighs on your mind? Because we've seen a lot of, weird things happen with the New York Athletic Commission. They're so new to commissioning MMA.
Commission's not the worry. It's the taxes. The taxes are my biggest issue with Madison Square Garden. But I think it'd be fun just to do it just because. Get that one out of the way. Make some history and move along. So that's appealing to me. Commission, I don't see much of an issue given what I've witnessed thus far. It's we'll see how it all plays out, but I like the idea of going to Madison Square Garden.
Well, hey, we like it as well, man. We can't wait to see what happens. In the meantime, congratulations. Obviously, this Ralph Polo, you being the face of Polo Blue. It's amazing, seeing your face potentially at airports and duty-free and all over the world. I imagine it's crazy for you because you've had your face on so many UFC posters, and this is something so different, something so mainstream. I imagine how proud you are. And obviously, you're wearing the Ralph Lauren top right now, right? Is that the little Ralph Lauren logo we see on the top left? There you go. Is there anything new coming out as far as the Ralph Lauren campaign that we can sort of look forward to seeing?
Things are going well. So I can't complain. Like I said, I always say, I don't discriminate against paychecks. And Ralph Lauren's been good to me, and sounds like I've been good to Ralph Lauren. The fragrance has gone from number 14 to number 4 this year.
Wow.
And we're sitting pretty. Things are going good. Can't complain. You'll see me in the fragrance aisle, and I also get the underwear aisle too. Don't worry about that.
Well, really? So there's going to be some Luke Rockhold underwear. Well, actually, you'll be the one modeling the underwear, right?
Yeah, no, I'm just taking paychecks.
Ah, wow. The female listeners right now are going crazy. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, Luke. Really appreciate it, man.
I was going to say, Cass, he's dominating the fighting rankings, the fragrance rankings, and soon the underwear rankings. Luke, thank you so much for jumping on the program. Really enjoyed it, man. Just quickly, sir, I know you were going to do that, Cass, but I might as well do it while I'm talking. Instagram, Twitter, @Luke Rockhold. Check out the amazing products. Follow the man's 007 journey around the world. And we look forward to possibly being greedy and getting you down to Australia one more time, Luke. We promise the weight cut will be easier because you'll be at light heavyweight. So no reason not to come down next time.
Now we're talking. Yeah. Cheers, boys.
Thanks, Luke.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.